Hi, I'm Catherine Bell, founder of the Awaken Company, and I'm with Kim Moody. And Kim Moody is a tax leader in Canada, and we've actually known each other for 30 years. And Kim sent me a very interesting text this morning about the dopamine culture. And we wanted to talk about it. So, Kim, can you share a little bit more about what you sent to me this morning, please?
Sure. And hello, Catherine. And yeah, I can't believe it's been almost 30 years that we've known each other. It's been awesome. You're looking young as always and bright and energetic as always. But yeah, what I sent you this morning, I subscribe to uh, Seth Godin's daily blog, and a lot of people probably know who Seth Godin is. He's one of the marketing geniuses in North America and frankly the world, in my view. And he puts out a daily blog, and he hasn't missed one for I don't know, at least 10 years. And so just, he put out this little diagram here. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's called, and I'll just describe it. It says the rise of dopamine culture. And so one of the first columns is, slow traditional culture is the first column. And then as you go to the right, the next column is fast modern culture. And then the very last column is the dopamine culture. And so and then he has a number of themes. And so, for example, under athletics, slow traditional culture is play a sport. Fast modern culture is watch a sport. And then the dopamine culture is gamble on a sport, because all of a sudden now your dopamine levels rise. And
Mhm.
under journalism, which is an area that I'm, certainly interested in, is newspapers was the, old traditional style or slow traditional style. The fast modern culture is multimedia, and then the dopamine is clickbait. I would probably add to that, and under clickbait, because I certainly agree with that, but it would be also opinion pieces, where you read stuff that's in your echo chamber,
Mhm.
and and then it goes on. But the last one that here that I'll just, he has other ones of video and music and images and communication. The relationships one that kind of hit me. The slow traditional culture is courtships and marriage, and the fast modern culture is sexual freedom,
Mm.
and then the dopamine culture is swipe on an app.
Mhm.
And in his blog, when he was describing this diagram, he used an example of when you were dating. And I remember as a youngster, oh boy, going to the high school dance, and I was a small guy, of course, and I was gathering all the courage I could to go and ask the cute girl to dance, right? And today, do you still get that? I'm going to guess lesser, to a lesser extent, because now you can just get an app and swipe. And I do think the dopamine culture is something that is very dangerous for society. And frankly, I think it's a decline. It's indicative, in my view, of a decline of humanity. And I don't know. I shared it with you this morning because I know how deep you think about some of this stuff, and I thought you might get something out of the simplicity of his model, but the importance of what he's putting out there. Thoughts or
Mhm. Well, of course, my mind and my heart go to leadership and how, in a dopamine culture, leadership requires real connectivity. It's not just a quick hit. It is getting people to think for themselves, getting people to imagine new futures, being optimistic, and small actions. And what when I read that, Kim, I just thought of, leadership. It's almost like we're being asked as leaders to step into a deeper, more important role around our connection to people who we work with, our clients, and our communities. And how do we reignite the sense of importance around having lunches together, around meaningful conversation, around meaningful and interesting, challenging work, not just the sense of immediacy.
yeah. Geez, I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you and I have talked about this many times, and even how we're doing this today, we're doing it on Zoom. And I think you know how I feel about Zoom. I think it's a pretty shitty platform in the whole scheme of things, but it's useful in some cases, right? Because I'm in a different city today than you are. And for stuff like this, I think it's a nice telephone replacement.
Mhm.
But does it replace meeting in person or creating real functional relationships, where I can see how you're dressed and how you react, your body reacts, and read your eyes and your face, and then actually get those connections, like you say. And more importantly, not more, but just as importantly, when you're in a position of leadership, being a real leader, taking a person aside and saying, and giving them the coaching and the mentoring that you just can't replicate either on the telephone or on Zoom, for example, because in my view, Zoom or any platform creates the dopamine culture,
Mhm.
or adds to it at least anyhow. And so it's, I totally agree with you. It's relevant, and more important as ever for leaders to think about stuff like this.
No, I really appreciated when you texted me the graphic. I found it very, very powerful. And I think, as human beings, we are human beings, not human doings. And we have senses for a reason. And Zoom and the phone can only hit so many senses. And I believe that when we are using all of our different senses, that we can be more present with each other and we actually can become more creative and innovative in what we're working on and what we're creating and building together. And I believe that many of these things, if not used with intelligence, they just they build automaticity in how we behave. And that whole notion of our creativity and our innovation can be stifled. However, when we're present together, innovation and creativity in leadership is always here.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
and
Sorry, go ahead, and then I'll add a comment.
I also, meaning and belonging, like we are suffering a mental health crisis, and meaning and belonging comes from our sense of unity and our sense of experience through our senses. We both are fans of the book Man's Search for Meaning.
Mhm.
And it's, for me, it's easier to find real meaning in those moments of deep, deep, deep kind of integration with another person around whether it be ideas, whether it be what we're going to build together, or a new vision and a new way of working together.
Yeah, beautiful. Totally agree. Kind of the last thing, and there's lots that we could say on this whole issue, but the last thing that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it is I read a book, and I'm trying to remember which one it was now, what it's called, but it's a famous one written about 10 years ago, just about uh, the history of humankind. Going back, what the hell is it called? Can't remember. But and it was interesting, right? Because it talks about how humanity was able to survive with the strong fight and fight and flight um, instincts, and once you burn yourself on the fire, you're going to make sure you know it's hot. You're not going to do it again, right? So those
Mhm.
instincts go back thousands and thousands and thousands of years, if not millions, right? And so, or however long humanity's been around, I can't remember how long, but when you so my point being is that dopamine has a very important use in our brain, right? It's produced by the brain and has a very important physiological purpose. It allows us to react quickly when we're in danger. But when our body is constantly hit with dopamine, with all these reactions, all these things like, that Seth talks about, and he's just using, some easy ones like athletics and journalism and video. I mean, you could go on and on about how social media impacts even more than that, right? And
Mhm.
dopamine is constantly hit, hit, hit. I think that has a significant, I'm no medical doctor, but I have to think that that has a significant negative impact on our ability to survive as human beings and on our overall health. And so that I worry about that side too, Catherine.
Mhm. I agree with you, Kim, and I also think so many people, we're trained to be outside of ourselves to get those dopamine hits. Yet how do we really come back home to what's important to us? You know, you and I often speak of what's our personal vision, what's important to us as human beings. And I think in that dopamine world, in that atmosphere, what's most important to us is often lost.
Yeah.
And so, how do we come back home to what is most important to us and lead from that place versus leading from the place of the swipes, the place of automatic, of the quick hits? Because I
Yeah.
think that's what actually we all kind of long for, is to come back to that form of leadership and that form of also relationship. When we sit down, break bread with somebody, see the light in their eyes go off when you know, when they're talking about something, and that's, to me, those moments we don't get back, and they're just so savory and delicious, and we don't get that feeling from our phones.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots more we could talk about, Catherine, but I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you about it. So
Thank you so much, Kim, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. And we hope that this gets you thinking about your life and how, what kind of life you really want to live. So we hope this has been of service.